Well, it's nearly summer now, officially. It's pretty close to the summer solstice. And it's 26 in the evening. The mosquitoes are out. Of course, mosquitoes are an eternal problem, and they're also a vector for all kinds of viruses, including Ebola and Nile's disease and so on. Not to mention malaria, which was initially conquered by a man named Walter Reed, whose name is attached to the hospital in Washington, D.C., Walter Reed Hospital, very famous federal hospital for presidents and any other high-ranking person in the government. Now, the government changes somewhat every 4 years. Even within the same administration, it changes every 4 years. Although within the same administration, within an 8-year period, there's far less change from the first to the second administration than there ever would have been between, say, a Democratic president and a Republican president, as we witnessed in the case when Donald Trump became president immediately after Barack Obama's presidency. Is that not right? Now, Kennedy won the election in 1960. He was assassinated in 63. Lyndon Johnson became president, and he resigned when? Approximately 1968. And what happened there? Well, George McGovern ran for president, I think, that year, and lost to Nixon. Nixon won the presidency in 1968, and he won it again in 1972. And in 1976, Gerald Ford attempted to run against Jimmy Carter, and he lost. 1976, Jimmy Carter became president of the United States for 4 years. In 1980, Ronald Reagan became president, and he was in there for 8 years until 1988. And then his vice president, Bush, was elected president, and he was in there for another flipping for a 8-year term. 1998, at 8 years. 1996, and then Clinton came on the scene, and he was there for another 8 years. 1996, at 8. We got up to 2002. And in 2002, well, in 2001, we had that horrendous incident known as the World Trade Center attack. And George Bush became president, and he was in there for 8 years until 2010, I think. These are hard to keep track of. And then Barack Obama became president after George Bush. So as you can see, there's this ever-shifting sway among the populace between the Democrats and the Republicans. And this has been going on for a long time. What is going to change that? Well, nothing, unless a third political party comes on the scene with equal validity and equal strength and equal measure to tamp down the other two, and the other two would try to tamp down it, and so on. With three parties, there would no longer be this ineffectual, totally dysfunctional Congress. There would be negotiation, necessarily. There would be negotiation because a third political party, equally strong as the other two, would balance them out, in a sense. Not necessarily to the right and not necessarily to the left, but it would compel the other two parties to negotiate. And because we only have two parties in a bicameral, bipolar system, the United States Congress is absolutely and fundamentally dysfunctional. Split right down the friggin' fucking middle. "50-50 with Joe Manchin pulling all the goddamn strings." Son of a bitch from West Virginia, purportedly, nominally he's a Democrat. Well, I got news for you. He doesn't act like a Democrat. Shit, oh dear, he doesn't act like any goddamn Democrat I ever knew. That motherfucker, why didn't he get on the fucking boat? And if he doesn't want to, why didn't he just jump off and work as an independent? Fucking A. Oh, I know. We don't have, Democrats don't have any flipping chance of getting somebody else there in West Virginia. Manchin's got his name recognition and all that. Well, I don't know. I wrote him a goddamn letter, handwritten. Do you think he wrote me a reply? Fuck no. Well, I never expect any of those people to write me a reply, but some asshole in his department read it. Some assistant read it. And if they read it, then they would know that I said to Manchin that your judgment is fundamentally flawed. Fundamentally flawed. Irrevocably flawed. With your insistence on this bipartisan business and your insistence that the filibuster cannot be overturned. So, if the filibuster cannot be overturned, that means that every goddamn piece of legislation that goes through Congress has to be legitimized by roughly 2/3 of the senators. In the House, it's just a 50-50 deal. But in the Senate, it is 2/3, roughly speaking. 2/3. If it was precisely 2/3, it would be 66. 65, 66, who cares? 66 out of 100 is 2/3. But they cut it back to 60. And these are, mind you, arbitrary numbers. It could be anything. Anything they chose.